right, Judah is with us today to give us his Drash. I'm going to go ahead and give you the podium here.
Thank you. Well, Shabbat Shalom. All right, so this week's Torah Parsha is Hazinu, which means to give ear. Its root word hazin means to listen or to incline one's ear with the intent of learning with great awareness. And so people always talk about wanting to hear God's voice or to see his face. I don't know if anybody remembers Sonic Flood, the song. They had that song, I want to know you, I want to hear your voice, I want to know you. As humans, we naturally long for the physical. We want to see things with our own eyes. Like when you go to a grocery store and you want that perfect parking spot to just drop from heaven with a large trumpet blast, and for a voice to come and say, I'm well pleased to give you this parking spot. It's an exaggeration, but that's kind of what we want. We want to see big things happening all the time for little things. But God, it seems that God likes to give us small things, give us in small amounts throughout the day, through the Holy Spirit or the Ruach HaKodesh. Even if they're subtle, we can't deny in the heat of the moment that we were feeling something that was telling us what we know is right, and yet we did the other thing. So, it's kind of like your conscience. So God's characteristics are mentioned a lot in the Torah. One of them is slow to anger, but sometimes we take advantage of that. Well, God's slow to anger. It's all right if I just, do this one thing again. It's covered by grace, right? God speaks to us through his Ruach HaKodesh, saying, hey, what's his face? Don't do that. And a little louder, maybe one more time. And then whatever what's-his-face was doing suddenly backfires. And what's-his-face says, well, why did that happen? So Israel's gone through this cycle many times. They went to exile. They come back, go into exile. But I've also been what's-his-face before, many times. Probably every day. So... 9/11 just happened, and I was watching a lot of stories on 9/11 on YouTube. I was watching one where 9/11 got a survivor. He was on the 78th floor, and that's right below where the plane hit. He was in the First World Trade Center, the North Tower, and he had some problems with his family, like some bad problems. And he was a believer, but he still had some problems, and he narrowly escaped the plane hitting. He was able to get down, and he felt God was condemning his actions, but he had always pushed those sides of thought, and he realized after 9/11 how fragile life is and how precious your family is and how precious just things being the way we're used to them being really is. So he turned his life around, and just like when Israel goes into exile, they realize, man, that back in Israel really wasn't that bad, or where they're wandering in the desert, man, maybe Egypt isn't as good as they say on the commercials or the magazines or whatever they had back then. So Moses tells the people to pay attention, hazinu, give ear, with the intent to listen. And these things in this psalm Moses wrote have been said many times before. We've been repeating the laws of the Torah many times. But we got to remember, Israel didn't have their own CJB Bible to just look at whenever they had to go find a scroll. He keeps reminding Israel it was him and not anybody else that brought them out of Egypt or fed them in the desert. That he's slow to anger but will always execute justice when needed. And yet God shows Moses the future, and Israel will disobey God. And not to justify it or to make it seem normal, but Israel was human. The Israelites were human. You have people that say, "Oh, Israel, they got so wrong," but we're humans too, And I'm sure if we had been at a crowd with Israel and we had been there, everybody else was doing it, we probably would have done it too. So in conclusion, the Holy Spirit is constantly speaking to us, and we should read the word regularly so that it will be ringing in our minds as we make our choices throughout the day. And let's listen to the Holy Spirit with awareness and the intent to learn. In Hebrew, ha'azin. Shabbat shalom.